Hey everyone, and welcome to Rambling Reviews, where we analyze different types of media and or their cultural relevance. My name's Christian, and this is Modern Family, Season 1, Episode 9, Fizbo. This episode, as some others have been by this point, was written by Paul Corrigan and Brad Walsh and directed by Jason Weiner. We've discussed them before in some of their previous work, so we're not really going to go into, the specifics of them. And on that note, I will say that there's not really too much to get into as far as kind of an overall message or, kind of a sweet note to take or anything like that from this episode. This one really does kind of lean more on just like a fun time that the family kind of has together. And, it's still good overall, like most of the episodes have been thus far. So without further ado, let's get into it. We open with the family meeting up at an emergency room as it becomes very clear one of the members of the family is injured, but as Mitch explains, we're lucky because the paramedics said it could have been a lot worse. And with that opening, we're going to have a lot of moments throughout where we're kind of really playing with the audience's expectations here, and I do like the way that they do a lot of this, because we're going to see where we're kind of setting the stage where at first we find out it is Luke's birthday coming up. So Claire and Phil, and later the rest of the family, will be trying to figure out what to actually get Luke for his birthday, as he is somebody who is very hard to buy for. They keep saying that, he's the kind of kid where basically you get him something nice, and he wants to play with the packaging it comes in rather than the actual nice thing they got him. One time, Claire and Phil even say they got him a box because he seemed to want to play with boxes, and he instead played with the packaging that the box came in, and they just can't get it right. Luke, of course, is a very eccentric, character, kid, and that tends to be his thing throughout at least what we've seen so far, and we're going to continue seeing for throughout season 1 at least, as that's all that I've watched all the way through thus far. But Luke does say there is one thing that he actually wants for his birthday, which is a belt. As he reveals in his own eccentric way, he's been using an extension cord for his belt so far. Kid is just very creative. I'll give him points for that, but bro, come on, man. So with all of this in mind, Claire and Phil have agreed to give Luke just the best birthday party ever. He's talking tons of pizzas, inviting all of Luke's friends, having a bounce house, having all this just crazy shit. And Claire comes up with a great idea. Oh yeah, and we can even have an arts and crafts table, which Phil basically immediately makes fun of and shoots down and is like, yeah, no, that's extremely boring, which for most kids, yeah, I think it definitely would be. I can understand, I don't know, having that at some kind of summer camp or something, but it's not really something a lot of kids, Luke's age are going to want to do. So yeah, but so we kind of, we're setting up, of course, our A plot and our B plots as we do here. And as Phil is, he gets this karaoke machine from Mitch and Cam, who he's like, I'll go ahead and bring it back as soon as we're done. And Mitch is like, please don't bring it back. It's okay, because clearly Cam, I guess, likes to sing with it and might get a little too rambunctious or something. But speaking of that nature, or of that, speaking of Cam in general here, Cam, asks, he's like, are you getting Luke a clown? And he's like, no, we're not getting any clowns. And we don't really see it here. It'll come more into play, but Phil is deathly terrified of clowns, so he does not want to have a clown. He's not gonna say that because, as he says later, he has an image to maintain. But Cam actually has a history of being a clown, so he basically begs Mitch to let him be a clown and have that be their birthday present to Luke. Whereas, Mitch shoots the idea down, and Cam's like, well, okay, what do you want to get him? He's like, get him a gift card. And Cam's like, a gift card? Who hurt you? Now, I talked about this in the last episode. Gift cards are the way to go, especially when you're an adult getting gifts for other adults or something. When you're a kid, though, I do totally understand. I remember the first time I got a gift card for Christmas or something, and I was a little bit not annoyed, but it sucked that I had to wait till the next day when I think it was Toys R Us I went to at the time, rest in peace, that was open, and I went to use my gift card. And on one hand, it was really cool because once I got there, I got to use it on whatever I wanted. But on the other hand, it was like, what the hell? Like, what am I? Where? Why can't I? Like, why can't I have my toy now? So, I understand also, of course, that dynamic that they're kind of dealing with here. As we move on to the Pritchett's, we see that Jay has decided to get Manny sorry, not Manny. Jay has decided to get Luke a crossbow when Manny shows up, asking about essentially for help with kind of flirting with this girl in his class. Now, I'm going to touch on that in a second real quick here, but first, I just want to say, a crossbow, really, for like a 10-year-old or 7, 9, whatever old Luke is? Come on, really? Like, I don't even think that's something you should get, like, maybe when a kid's like 12 or 13. I don't know. I'm not really for the idea of like, kids need to like learn how to like use a crossbow or shoot a gun or something. I guess if it's something they want to do at like a fire range or something, then by all means. But I'm not one for like, oh, a kid needs to learn how to hunt and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, just not really my thing. But regardless, Manny, is asking for this advice, and he's basically saying that, well, I've done all this like romantic stuff for her, and her name's Bianca, as he'll point out this girl later. But he's like, I've done all this like romantic stuff for her and everything, and she's not going for it. And Jay actually gives some very real advice that I think is great and very honest, which is that girls don't really go for all that like romantic sappy stuff like that you see in Disney movies and stuff. He doesn't say like you see in Disney movies. I'm pointing that out because I understand Manny's predicament, and I understand like where he's coming from, being this like, I mean, he's a romantic, I'm a romantic, I get it. And he's someone as well who wants to, he thinks that like the way to like a woman's heart, or a girl in his case, the way to a girl's heart is this romantic stuff that he's seen in like all these Disney movies and stuff, and that just isn't true. As Jay points out, women are attracted to money and power, and since you don't have either of those, you're going to be the funny guy. Now, there is some truth to all of this stuff. One is that, or excuse me, he says power and success. Power and success, yes, that is true, but it doesn't have to mean like you own your own company or something like that, or you're like super powerful in like, I don't know, politics or something. It just means like, it really what it comes down to is it's like confidence, assertiveness, showing that you have your shit together in some capacity. And being able to kind of show that, because a lot of girls, whether it be through social conditioning, which I think is a large part of it, or I don't know, maybe there's some biological thing to it, but I think it's really more just social conditioning, will kind of more or less want to go for a guy that like is further ahead of them in life and like has stuff together, rather than a guy who's like on their same level, or especially a guy who's below them in some way. There are definitely people who will step outside of that 100%, but for the most part, it tends to be this way. And this is some solid advice that Jay is giving Manny here. Now, on that note as well, being the funny guy, this isn't something I've ever done or like tried to do or anything, but it is true that a lot of guys who are funny, like comedians and stuff, will just do really well with women. And I think a lot of that more so has to do with just kind of being good at like crowd work and stuff, but also being good at like making people laugh. And I think that, if you can get a girl to laugh and to, think that you're funny and enjoy the things that you're saying and stuff, she'll attach those positive feelings to you and quite, possibly take interest in you in general. So, this is something that we'll see Manny try to take on more. But I just wanted to touch on that because that is a very real piece of advice that a lot of people will go for. And it can definitely work for some, but not necessarily everybody. So we see now at the Dumfries house that Phil has kind of blown the whole birthday thing out of proportion. As, I mentioned before, there's bounce houses. We see there's a snow cone machine. There's just all kind of crazy stuff. And he even has I guess you could call him like a live animal trainer named Jungle Tanya here, who is actually played by an actress by the name of Margot Harshman, who I didn't actually know until like 2 seconds ago, doing like a little bit of research again here. but she was actually in a show called Even Stevens, which I've heard of. I think it was on like Disney or Nickelodeon or something, as or Disney Channel is what it was on. And apparently she's also done work on the NCIS show. So I mean, cool. Oh, she was also Sheldon's assistant on Big Bang Theory. Never saw Big Bang Theory either, so I don't really know what that means. But cool, good for her. She's going to become a kind of important character throughout. I don't know if I'd say she's like a guest star per se, but yeah, I can understand giving her that title. But regardless, we have this bit where Phil is, he's trying to get her to have some kind of reptile, some kind of animal that's really going to like freak people out. And one of the things she says, she's like, "Oh, I have a bearded dragon," and he's like, "Oh, does it?" And she's, "No, it doesn't breathe fire." And it's like, oh, okay, well then, come on, man, like, what are you doing here? And with Phil trying his best to make everything as fun as he can for his son, we have Cam going against what pretty much everybody else said, deciding to clown up, if you will, as it's actually kind of a cool moment, I guess you could say, where he has this little bit of clown makeup on, clown nose, and just says, "Hello, old friend." It is kind of cool that it's like this. I don't know. It's almost like a superhero taking on like an identity or something, or that kind of vibe. I don't know. And we also see that with Phil getting everything ready and having going all out with all this stuff. We do have a point also where he runs into Claire and she's like, "Isn't this all a bit much?" And again, I need to point out these guys are like clearly wealthy, like all of them. Like this is not like a modern average family. You know what I mean? This is like they're all like upper class, at least. But with that in mind, Claire, and she's so proud of this. She's like, "Oh, I got the arts and craft table set up, and we're gonna make comb sheaths." Comb sheaths? Well, it's a sheath for your comb, and she's so proud about this that like she made them when she was a kid, and she even had this bit like they had the little interview section where she's like, "Oh, what am I gonna do? Where is my comb? Well, it's in my handy little comb sheath right here." And she's just it's so like dorky and kind of charming and cute, but it's just like, I mean, come on, man. She's like, "Oh, I don't know where my comb is," and it's like, yeah, I mean, like I carry my comb on me too, but like I just keep it in my pocket. I'm good to go. I don't need a comb sheath, you know what I mean? But yeah, it is what it is. But speaking of people who are just so proud of their eccentricness, we'll say, we have Mitch gets home and he's like, "Well, I got Luke a video game, but it's about math, so I guess we're those kind of uncles." And I just want to say real quick, do not be the kind of person who gets somebody a video game that's an educational game. That's like the last thing a kid wants. That said, SpongeBob Teaches Typing is how I learned how to type, so take that as you will. But to the meat of the issue here, Mitch gets home, Cam shows up, and he's like, "Don't be mad," as he's fully decked out in his Fizbo costume, outfit, whatever you want to call it. He has, like I said before, he has a history of playing clown, and he's very proud of it. He even knows all the different types of clowns, which I didn't know there were different. I thought it was just like regular clown and sad clown. And I will say, I was never like super afraid of clowns or anything like that, but they're yeah, they're kind of off-putting. Like I'm not gonna, yeah. At the actual party, Phil is trying to film everything because I guess he's that kind of dad. And he stupidly even keeps Luke in a shot as he's heading toward him on this like kind of like kid zip line they have. It's kind of cool how they have it set up. And Phil gets hit because he's right in the line of where these kids end up when they're zip lining. So it's like, come on, dude, like dumb move. But we also have this bit where Claire is really trying to get people to do her arts and crafts with her, and no one's joining her. Phil kind of ribs her a bit for that, and then gets instant karma as he gets hit again because stupidly he's still standing where the kids are ending up on the zip line. Meanwhile, Manny, now with some encouragement from his folks, is trying his hardest to be the funny guy and crack some jokes to Bianca in an attempt to win her heart. But as he does, he just absolutely bombs, and does not impress her at all. She is completely disinterested, and it does not go well. Now, on their way to Luke's party, Mitch and Cam stop at the gas station. Cam's like, "Oh, all right, I'll go ahead and get it." He's like, "No, no, no. You just stay there." And Cam's like, "Oh, I get it. You're embarrassed." And he's like, "Yeah, 100% I am. Of course I am." So he goes to get the gas, and this guy bumps into him while he's standing, like not his car, but like him, like his leg. And Mitch confronts the guy about it, and he's like, "Yeah, what are you gonna do about it?" kind of thing. And so he's trying to stand up for himself, but he's very intimidated by this dude. And suddenly, Cam shows up. You just see these like big clown feet step out of the car, and he shows up, and he just tells off this dude where he's like, "You need to apologize to my boyfriend right now." He's like, the guy's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm the ass-kicking clown it's gonna kick your ass, so you need to apologize." And first he apologizes, like, "No, no, no, not me, him." And he's like, "Sorry, dude." And he's like, you guys are crazy," and like, runs away. And this clearly makes Mitch feel some kind of way as he kind of looks at Cam like this, and he's clearly you know he's clearly been turned on by this interaction. He's like, "Damn, like I didn't think I'd like you as a clown, but shit, you do actually. All right, it's doing something for me now." you know. So now, after the fallout of Manny striking out, essentially, he's bouncing sadly in the bounce house as Gloria goes to kind of comfort him and talk to him about the whole thing, and she gives him some good sounding advice, but I want to be a little bit. I want to twist it a little bit here, as she kind of gives the typical like mother advice of how well you just have to be yourself, and when the right girl comes along, she'll appreciate that, and that kind of thing. And this does make Manny feel better, and it is good advice to an extent, but I do want to add I do want to add a little bit of something to it. I think the best advice, and I feel like I'm sure I've talked about this before, but I think the best advice that you can give people in regards to how to attract those that they find attractive is, yes, be yourself, but be yourself in a way that those who you find attractive will still also find attractive. Um, as in, like, be yourself doesn't mean, if you are, a slob who doesn't take care of themselves, doesn't clean up after themselves, doesn't practice good hygiene, anything like that, has no style, nothing, like, that is yourself. You want to be the best version of yourself, the most attractive version of yourself. And I know what you're thinking, like, "Oh, well, these are kids." Yeah, but still, like, this is advice that he's going to take on as a kid and continue, to build upon as he's an adult and everything. So you want to make sure that you have the right kind of advice being given here. So yeah, you do want to be yourself, but you want to be yourself in a way that is still like, okay, for example, like, here's the thing. Yes, be yourself, but if you find that attributes of yourself are not being, aren't getting you any luck with, people you find attractive, then maybe you need to change something up. And I've talked about this before, but like for myself, I have a baby face. I used to have like emo bangs. I'm naturally a ginger, all that stuff. So I started, changing these things about myself, dyeing my hair, growing out a beard, those kind of things. I kind of play around with using like self tanning products to make myself not as pale and stuff like that. But you know, different things, and have been learning more about how to appeal to what's called the female gaze. Everybody talks about the male gaze, but there's also the female gaze, and I think that is an important thing to be able to understand and be able to properly appeal to, if you are a guy that wants to attract girls or women or whatever it is. In Manny's case, in kids' cases, it's girls, and in my case, and in adult, it's women. You get what I mean. But yeah, you want to, like, be yourself, but be yourself in a way that is still attractive. Still is going to, you're not gonna, like, don't be surprised if you got, like, I don't know, I don't know, spiked up like rainbow hair or something, and that's like putting people off. You know what I mean? Like you gotta work within the realms of what's conventionally attractive if you want the attention of those who are conventionally attractive. So that's but that's more in regards to looks. In regards to everything else, I mean, yeah, I mean that's the main thing I I have to say on that, I guess. Now in the living room, Jungle Tanya is showing off the reptiles, and of course all the kids are loving it and everything. But Dylan is there for some reason because Haley invited him, and as Alex had mentioned before, oh well, Haley can't stand like 2 seconds without without being around Dylan, without Dylan's throat in her mouth, and sorry, tongue in her mouth, throat in her mouth. That doesn't make tongue down her throat, something like that. Which Alex even at the time retorted that oh, don't worry, I'm sure you'll find someone hot in like computer camp or whatever. And I've noticed that a lot of the back and forth between Haley and Alex is very much where Alex kind of insults one or the other. Like Haley will insult Alex for being a nerd, or something of that nature. Alex will insult Haley for craving male attention too much, something of that nature, and or for her lack of intelligence or something. So you got things like that. But I mean, that's really kind of what these two bicker about more than anything. But either way, and on that note, it is possible that the reason this happens and that she says what she does here is because of that like jab earlier. But Dylan is like, he's like, oh yeah, no, I want to see the animals, pet the animals, all this stuff, right? And Alex is getting under Haley's skin by basically saying like, oh yeah, like look at her, like hot jungle girl, probably has her own apartment, accomplished all these different things. I'm sure Dylan might be into her, kind of thing, right? And you wonder, and I wonder, looking at this and everything, is it that Alex is using this to kind of like, just get under Haley's skin because of what she said? Also, I can't blame Dylan. Like, I mean, yeah, she is definitely hot. That the fact that she like has an apartment and stuff, clearly she's an adult, whereas Dylan, I know the actor for Dylan and the actor for Haley were adults when filming this, like at least 18, 19. But the character of Dylan is not. So I mean, the jungle lady, yeah, having her own apartment and stuff, that's great for like, I don't know, someone like me who's also an adult. But for someone like Dylan who's not an adult in the show, not really the best. But I will say, speaking of not being able to blame Dylan for being into Tanya, we have a bunch of guys just watching Gloria. We have a bunch of guys crowded around the bounce house. Jay comes over, like, hey, what's going on, guys? And we see they're all watching Gloria just bouncing away on the thing. And she thinks, she's like, oh, look, I'm having a great time. I'm bouncing and everything. And look, I can't blame them. Yeah, she's a fucking gorgeous woman. We've talked about this before. But like, Jay even calls them, like, you guys are family men. Like, come on with this. Like, it's kind of, again, one of those things that's played for laughs. But speaking about that, by the way, I've noticed that we haven't had much of the Phil kind of like creeping on Gloria thing happen since those first couple episodes in the beginning. So that's kind of cool. But in the living room, Dylan seems to be, getting more interested in the animals and potentially Jungle Tanya here. Alex continues kind of getting under Haley's skin, but she doesn't even say, I was just messing with you before, but I don't know, maybe he is actually into her. And so Haley decides to take action. And what she does is release a scorpion onto everybody. She acts all innocent. She's like, jungle lady, this box, like one of your animals got out. Like this box, this box is tipped over." And she's like, "Oh my god, was it in that one right there?" She's like, "Oh my god, that's a very dangerous, like, poisonous scorpion." And she tells her, she's like, "Okay, everyone, we're gonna like tuck in our pants, and we're gonna go to, like, I don't know, some area where the scorpion probably won't be, and and we're gonna play a fun game. Watch where you step." It's like, oh my god. And on that note, I mentioned earlier how in the beginning the characters were meeting at the hospital. And we keep having these things happen that seem like this could have been the cause for someone getting hurt. We had a rock wall earlier, which could have been someone fell off a rock wall. Now we have the scorpion. We have all these different things. And we now have the next thing that kind of is, messing with expectations a bit, as Luke has now gotten the gift from Jay of the crossbow. And I gotta say, the way the kid is holding the crossbow, I do not like. Like, if I was Claire here, I would be like, please don't point that in my direction. Just don't. Like, I see that he doesn't have his hand on the trigger, or his finger on the trigger. I don't care. I would not be comfortable with that. I'd be like, point it down, away, unless you're pointing it to shoot at something. And don't point it to shoot at people. Obviously, it's like, oh, don't worry. Grandpa Jay's going to teach me how to use it. He's like, yeah, that's what I'm, worried about. But we do have this sweet little moment where Mitch kind of sees that Claire is not having a great time, right, with all the arts and crafts. That no one's caring, no one's showing up, all that stuff. And basically, they just kind of bond over this a little bit. But also, they notice how Cam is literally a clown, and is doing very well with the people at the party, whereas Phil's kind of a clown too, because they just kind of let themselves go and have fun, and they're the life of the party. And we do have this bit where basically, so like I said, Phil is terrified of clowns. So anytime Cam like gets around him, he's kind of like, oh god, like he gets like queasy and kind of can't be around him, essentially. But we have this whole bit where, with everything going well, the scorpion is now out and about. Fizbo, Cam, sees the clown, starts freaking out, and everybody starts running. This leads into a chain of reactions that I'm not going to like show each scene here, because once again, I want you to watch the actual show for yourself. It's a fantastic show. But basically, Phil, being freaked out, kind of like tries to back away, knocking into someone else, causing Luke to drop the crossbow, which then causes it to fire into the bounce house, causing it to deflate, where Manny now sees his chance to, because Bianca's in there. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go save her, I'm gonna go protect her. And I don't think he's necessarily doing this with like the mentality of, if I save her, I'll get the girl. I know that's a common thing that a lot of people think, and has been like ingrained into our culture a lot as well, to think that basically like, if you save the girl, you're like entitled to a relationship with her or something, where I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think he's just doing this because he does care about her and he wants her to be safe. But we do have this funny moment too, where there's a sign that says like, take your shoes off when you're in the bounce house. So Manny does actually take off his shoes to get into the bounce house and save her and everything. And we have this funny moment too, where she's like, wait, my dog's still in there. And I'm thinking, why would you bring your dog? Like, I understand why she did it, right? It's the whole like, save someone from a burning building. Oh no, my child, my dog, whatever. She's like, my dog's still in there. And it turns out to be a balloon dog that Cam made. Now, I will say, I did a short stint, was never a clown, but I did a short stint where I actually like made balloon animals at restaurants for kids. Balloon dog was like that and a sword were like the only things I knew how to make. I did not know how to make like a braided hat though, which was really cool. People liked that. But yeah. But I just love it. Again, like the juxtaposition, the like, playing with expectations, all those different things. I think that's just, it's really great how and I love little jokes like that. Like, oh no, my dog. And it's, I love that stuff. But after all of this, everything that happens here, Luke slips on the beads that Claire has with her little crafting table, falls and breaks his arm. And we see that is why everyone was here at the hospital, because Luke broke his arm. Now he's in a cast, and he loves it. And you know, Phil's like, I am sorry, we kind of messed this one up. We'll do better next year. And it's like, are you kidding? This is the best. I got a cast. And it's like, what? Like, this kid is happy that he has a cast now for his birthday. And like, I will say, I had a cast once. I had a cast from, I wasn't, okay, so it's really funny because like I wasn't playing football, but I was like in the vicinity of like a football field. And someone threw the ball, and I think the way it like hit my wrist, it like snapped it and broke it. But somehow or another, I was like running by like a fence or something, and they threw it, and it hit me. I don't know if it knocked into the fence. I don't know what happened, but I ended up breaking my arm, and I had to get a cast too. So like, I get it. I've been there, but I was never thrilled. Like, oh boy, I got a cast now. Like, it sucked. You know, you got to like put a like bag on it to like take a shower and stuff. You got to. It's not a fun time. But I was around his age though when I got it though too. So you know, you did have the whole thing where like you go to school and everyone's like, oh, can I sign your cast? And it's like, yeah, but it's also like, I'd prefer to not have it. You know what I mean? But with all of that done, we of course end on yet another funny moment. You know, there isn't really like a big like, you know, kind of heartfelt, you know, message and everything with this episode. We have Phil kind of narrating about how basically, you know, I would have not expected this to turn out so great, but it's incredible that it did, and everybody had a good time and everyone was like safe overall. So, you know, but and you know, I mean, I think there is kind of a message to kind of take from that of, you know, even when things don't work out, they can still like be good in the long run. They can still, everyone can still have a good time in like situations like this and stuff. So, you know, I guess there's something like that. But, you know, overall it was more of a fun episode. But we have, of course, another, you know, kind of funny moment to you know, punch out on, if you will, where the kids are all kind of, you know, discussing little things, and they're having the little interview thing, right? And Manny says, he's like, you know, after I saved her, Bianca called me 3 times. And I'm starting to feel a little bit smothered. And it's like, all right, dude, come on. Then we have Luke, where he's like, oh, it was real nice that my mom gave me this like cast scratcher, and it was the comb from the comb sheet thing, right? Whereas we end with Haley basically saying like, when a girl comes after your man, you got to take action. And we see, as she's talking about this, the scorpion is right behind her. You know, we end with her finding it and screaming, but I don't know, like, if I was in her position and I was told like, oh yeah, you're gonna take the scorpion out of a thing and you're gonna be like right next to it for this shot, I don't know, I'd kind of be like, okay, we need to really make sure that this is like not poisonous. And I just feel really gross about the whole, I hate bugs of all sorts, and I guess I'd put scorpions in that bug creepy crawly category. But either way, regardless, you know, like I said, not like a super heavy hitting, like a real kind of thing to like, you know, discuss and analyze and all that, but a fun episode overall. Definitely enjoyed it. Still had those, you know, moments here and there with like Manny and trying to get good with girls. You know, the whole thing about I really do like just how the episode in general played with emotions, or played with expectations and stuff, and kind of kept like, you know, yanking your chain around and stuff like that. I like that kind of stuff. But I mean, you know, there was a good message about like, you know, Claire and Mitch kind of, you know, seeing that eccentricness that that their husband and boyfriend have, and respecting that and loving that about them and everything. And yeah, you know, it was sweet. But yeah, good episode overall. Again, of course, highly recommend watching it. But as always, these are just my thoughts. Let me know what yours are in the comments down below. Follow me on social media for more. Subscribe and ring the bell to stay up to date. Leave a like if you like. And if not, I hope you find something to do like. Later, guys. Peace and love.